His suspension begins August 30th when the 53-man roster is solidified. He can return to the facility October 10th. He can resume practicing November 14th, and he can play his first game, like Ryan said, Week 13 against the Texans. That would be December 4th. He also has to undergo therapy and treatment. So he's got to abide by whatever the therapists and all of them say, and if he doesn't, then we're going to be back here and his suspension could be longer. So he's got to go abide by what they are telling him to do to get back on the field and play for the Browns. But until that happens, Ryan, this is now Brissett's team. And we've seen Jacoby Brissett a few times. He was with the Patriots. He was with the Colts. He's had 37 starts. His record as a starter, not great. 14-23. There's mentioning of the Browns maybe keeping an eye on other quarterbacks like a Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know why Jimmy G would want to come here when he knows it's going to be a one-year lease at best, while also fighting for the position with Jacoby Brissett. But if Brissett is the one who's taken this team through the first 12 weeks of the season, 11 games, because they do have a bye in those first 12 weeks, how do you see this panning out for the Cleveland Browns?
So, lucky for the Browns, I actually think they can tread some water here before Deshaun comes back. I mean, you look at their first couple games, and their schedule looks like a cakewalk. Their first game is against the Panthers. And look, when Jacoby Brissett is your quarterback, nothing is a guaranteed win. Like, theoretically, these games could all be losses, but game number one is on the road against the Panthers,
and against Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, which is not a very good. They're just not a good team, right? Game number two, the Jets come to town. The Jets are really bad. The Steelers come to town with Mitch Trubisky at quarterback, and then they go on the road at the Falcons. Theoretically, the Browns could be 4-0, and then they play the Chargers. Unless the Chargers have some catastrophic injuries, I don't think anybody is picking the Browns to upset the Chargers there, especially with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. And then they host the Patriots. Again, I don't think the Patriots are a good team. Then they have the Ravens and the Bengals. So right there, you're looking like potentially at like 6-3 before Deshaun Watson comes back. They play the Dolphins and the Bills. So if they can get to like 6-5 or even 5-6, before Deshaun comes back, I think they can do some real damage, right? Obviously, he comes back against the Texans. The Texans, again, not expected to be a very good team. One thing I'm interested, kind of even more so than like the beginning of the season for the Browns before Deshaun comes back, is what happens after Deshaun comes back, right? Because he comes back against the Texans, and then he has 6 games where he's playing football this year. 4 of those games are on the road. And to me, this Deshaun Watson comeback is going to be way more mental than it is physical. I already think he's a great quarterback. If he's rusty, he's still probably like a good quarterback, just not one of the top in the NFL like he might be when he's fully 100% right. But you are going to be the absolute target for all the hate, all the vitriol, all the name calling, like we saw it in Jacksonville in the preseason, where they were chanting, you sick F, right at Deshaun Watson in the end zone. And his first game back against the Texans, that's probably going to be the worst of it. So you're getting that out. You're getting that out of the way right away. And then you go to the Bengals, who are a division rival. And then you do have 2 games at home. I don't expect your home fans are going to be heckling you. And then you end the season on the road at Washington, and then again on the road at a division rival with Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh fans can get pretty nasty too. So it's really, for me, the most interesting thing kind of about all of this, and it might determine whether or not the Browns make the playoffs, is just where Deshaun's head is when he comes back. Is he going to let more hate than he's ever gotten before, like in his life? Is he going to let that affect him? And not that people weren't saying negative things about him when this story broke, but he wasn't playing on the field, right? He could typically not hear it if he just shut off his TV and didn't go on social media. Because other than that, people in his life probably aren't just calling him out and all types of things like that. But when you're on the football field, there's no escape to it. Like, you're going to have the crowd. You're probably going to have other players trying to get in your head. So to me, and like for the Browns and for Deshaun Watson, that's going to be what I'm most interested in seeing. And having 4 of those last 6 games on the road, which are the 6 that Deshaun can play, that's really going to determine the season for me.
Man, you are optimistic about this Browns group with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. Because if I'm the opposing team now,
it's a weak schedule. Bro.
It's not that weak of a schedule where you can just say load the box and do not let Nick Chubb beat us. And let's see if Jacoby Brissett can beat us. And I think that's exactly what all these teams are going to do. You know that's what Bill Belichick's going to do. He knows Brissett quite well. But at Carolina against Baker Mayfield, I'm hoping the entire time in Carolina the fans are
not any good.
We'll see. But I'm hoping that everyone in Carolina is sitting there chanting, thanks for Baker over and over again while that game's going on. Yes, the Jets. I don't know about Pittsburgh. We'll see what ends up happening with Pittsburgh. They got a hell of a running game as well and a pretty good coach. At Atlanta, not a good team. Chargers, a loss. New England, I think, is a loss. Baltimore, I think, is a loss. And Cincinnati is a loss. So I think at best they're 4-4 before the bye. I think I'm going opposite you. I'm going to say 3-6 before the bye, or 3-5 before the bye. And then at Miami, we'll see what Miami is at that point. They're supposed to be better this year. We'll see what happens with Tua. At Buffalo, loss. Tampa Bay, loss. And then at Houston. And now you've got all these fun ones on the road with Deshaun Watson behind center. I don't think this is going to end up being a very good year for the Browns. I'll say that now. I think in the end they're going to be under a 500 record when it's all said and done. I don't think Jacoby Brissett is a good quarterback. I know the Browns have a good offensive line and a hell of a running attack. I don't think it's enough when you have a quarterback that you don't fully believe in if you're the opposing defense and are going to say, let him try and beat us because we're not going to let Nick Chubb do it. So go ahead, Brissett. See what you can do against our defense and against our secondary and see if our front seven can get to you in time. So I'm going to go out and say that they are finishing 8-9 at best this year. That's my at best record for the Cleveland Browns, with Jacoby Brissett being their quarterback for 11 of their 17 games.
All right, but like 14 teams make the playoffs now. 8-9 might still do it. You'd get a wild card. I'm of course not picking them to win the division, but I think
you think 8-9 is going to get them a wild card in the AFC North, because they're going to be behind the Ravens and the Bengals.
I think 8-9 will get them close to a wild card. It'll be in the hunt. They'll be on the graphic as long as they're not like 6-11 or something. But the Steelers might not. I mean, the Steelers have Mr. Trubisky at quarterback.
Yeah, not a good quarterback.
The Steelers might not be any good. The Patriots might not be any good. Like, Mac Jones is kind of whatever. Like, he's still young, obviously. It's not saying he's going to be a scrub forever.
What do you mean? He's number 85 in the top 100. They got him 14 spots ahead of Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, they do. This is preposterous.
Absolutely.
And the Browns have a defense where, like you say, the teams can stack the box against the Browns will probably have success. I mean, the Browns defense isn't any type of slouch. So when they go against a quarterback like Baker Mayfield, who doesn't have any weapons outside of, DJ Moore at receiver, and then they have, obviously Christian McCaffrey in the backfield. But like Pittsburgh doesn't have, weapons outside. They have Deontay Johnson and then, George Pickens, who's a preseason hero, but we don't know if he's going to be any good. So I think the Browns defense is capable of keeping them in some of these games too. It's not just going to be Jacoby Brissett slinging the ball all over the place, leading the Browns to an 8-3 record before Deshaun comes back. But I think they can be like 5-6, and if they are 5-6, 6-5 when Deshaun comes back, I think they'll very much be in the hunt to still make the playoffs by the time he returns.
All right. You have a whole lot of faith in a team that's been very, very bad for most of their existence. I wonder if can you have that same faith for our Lions? No?
I have before. It's not this year.
Hey, Ryan Griffin here. Thank you so much for watching today's episode of Griffin and Bass. Be sure to give us your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to click the bell to receive the latest notifications from DSN, and subscribe for breaking news, community blogs, polls, contests, and other content.